On the go, on the march, we're gonna go rock and roll. From my neighborhood here, we're gonna go do a little bit of zigzag. Turn your heads left and right before you cross the street. It is the third day, holy day of the Book of the Law, riding and sun shining. I'm just gonna make sure that I cross on that prudent side, and that's what I'm gonna go do it. For the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. And third day that I'm wearing these new boots. Gotta be prudent when you cross the street. For the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Yours truly auctioning everything that I'm wearing, each piece for $1 million. Financially stressed and financially stressed. I am financially stressed, but I'm open for business 24/7 for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Get that rock and roll. Right? Gotta go. Yeah, thank you for letting me pass, and the other person pass also. So we always gotta be prudent when you cross the street, you know. Just gonna drop some garbage here, and then rock and roll all the way. And beautiful day. I think it's 7 degrees, and there we go. We're gonna zig it on and off towards the sun, and gotta be that gratitude, you know. Although financially stressed, I gotta say my gratitude, grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, got food and coffee. And, felt good to get a little bit of that sunlight, a little bit. I was busy writing some emails, you know, as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and great geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, although at certain things I lack a little bit more, you know, skills in the social setting, and it can be awkward in conversation due to my neurological mental divergent condition known as Asperger's. So live with HFA. But when it comes to geopolitics, I predicted what's happening now back in 2019, October, November, and I have proof of work, as I am a rainbow artist in parallel to being an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Always gotta be prudent when you cross the street, and I feel good now, you know. Feel good when I'm working out, training, exercising. When I, of course, exercise, I always feel good. I encourage people to work out, train, exercise on the regular basis, and something which we gotta do, you know, on a regular basis. That is something which we gotta be mindful of. That exercise is a great component for mental health, and that's how we gotta be doing, you know. That's what we gotta be doing with that, and that's how we gotta be on the love. Somebody making love today, I'm pretty sure. If not, pretty sure somebody gonna make that good loving. And I'm just gonna zigzag it a little bit. So where I'm gonna go is actually, I'm just gonna take it by this side here, because there's a child with a mother, or whatever the relationship is, and I don't want to be in the way, you know. Children's safety and joy first, you know. Children's safety and joy first. Children's safety and joy first. So that's why I took a little bit of road, like, just to give them the whole pedestrian sidewalk, you know, because I can manage, although I'm clumsy, you know. Asperger's, we can be pretty clumsy, especially when we're super focused and dedicated and in whatever we're doing. But I'm gonna always gotta get it for those little flowers there. Look at those. They're blossoming even more powerfully. I love the little flowers there. And get some yellow ones. So it's getting for the spring, you know, springtime now, 7 degrees. But grateful, thankful, financially stressed I am, but I gotta be grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, and got food and coffee. And you know, it's always with the backpack. Got a backpack, those red gloves in the backpack. Auctioning the red backpack for $1 million. Gonna give 50%, half to my anonymous friend, who wasn't my friend because of the money, but wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any. But that's how I gotta go do it with for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the construction workers. And you know, it's a Dragon versus Trump event, and have been him and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border ever since, of course, the imposition of tariffs of 10% on Canadian aluminum and steel back in 2018, and marking, celebrating 5 years since I survived COVID. I had COVID back in 2020 between February and March, and I'm surviving a little bit of that sun. Satellites beam up, and always exercising, working out, training, exercising, rock and roll, and geopolitics. Because you know, Asperger's, people who are Aspies like myself with HFA, I live with this high functioning autism, and we have what's called special interests. So those special interests, also known as obsessive interests, preoccupy our whole daily routines and habits. So Every day I have to do hours and hours and hours a day of either exercising and engaging in intense geopolitical theorizing and analysis, and I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist who has predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019 with all the scars, all the imperfections, all the financial stress, although my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and all the financial stress aside, I'm joyous and I have great hope, HOP, and my trinity of theories I present on the table, the DRT, debt fusion theory, the CIT, citizen integration theory, and the democratic fusion theory for the creation of the universal exchanging is something which I gotta be proponent on, and I gotta go on that meditation. Here I gotta cross the street and watch a little bit of that cars, you know, because the brakes can malfunction, and I'm still a bit on the heel sick side. I was healing a lot, and I'm healing the way I know best, you know, with regular exercise. But my throat, my anonymous friend gave me some good medicine, Echinacea golden seal it's called, Echinacea golden seal, Echinacea golden seal, and I took that, and that was really good to take it and enjoy it. So here I'm enjoying on the nice day, 7 degrees, you know. I always gotta enjoy a little bit of that good weather and see a little people are out a little bit on that springtime, and that's always good to see people working out, cleaning, and getting a little bit of that feel of the spring. And oh, the king is absent. What is this? Green party, green party, green party. I'm not voting. I decided the king is absent, you know, and it's time for the Republic. As my brother Carney, with all respect, you know, I said, whoa, whoa, pledging allegiance to the King of England. You know, the King of England is absent. The king is absent. The king is absent. It's time for the Republic. So I'm calling for the implementation of my trinity of theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, debt fusion theory, and the DFT, the democratic fusion theory, and encouraging all to work out. Train, exercise, working out, train, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. Even now I feel good, you know. I did my 2 laundries. Grateful, thankful for the laundry machine, laundry washer, and the dryer. And that's what I got. It takes that brains and muscle to build all the civilizational complex of the North American Collective. And as a philosopher, artist, athlete, mystic, and geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, gonna say, yes, pledge allegiance to the fellow Canadians, you know. 40 plus million Quebecers, like myself included, North American as well, because I was born in the United States 3 times post 70-76. Once I was born a woman, twice as a man, served in the same United States Army in 2 different wars though. 2 different wars, same United States Army. But I can't say nothing about the flag with yours truly, because I have it tattooed there, eh? I have it tattooed, the Canada tattooed on my arm, and it's always the maple leaf, so I always have the the flag tatted on me, you know. That Canada, it's time for the Republic, the king is absent, and although financially stressed, I got this great new boots, exactly the same as my old boots, which I'm auctioning because I marched about 45 months in them, more than the generals combined during NATO, with miles and miles and miles, and they're all worn up, but I'm auctioning them for $1 billion. Gonna give half, 50% to my anonymous friend, and yours truly pay my $10,000 debt and start building on the Canadian-US border the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. The North American People's Imperial Coliseum. It's time to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be 11 times greater than the Caesar Superdome, the also known as before it was known as the Mercedes Superbenz, where of course the hardball ball, the blackout ball was played. One of my favorite Super Bowls was the 49ers versus the Ravens. My 49ers lost, not by a lot, by only 3, but that was one of my favorite Super Bowls, and that was when, of course, my 49ers lost. But I will to build that 11 times bigger than, of course, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and that's what it is with that. That's what it is with the XYZ. And here we gotta go on the love, you know. It takes some love. It's not all about the money, and something which we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and you know, so sometimes which we gotta be on the traversal side of things, and loving me some of that good red, my favorite color. Gotta salute the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, you know, all involved in the production, distribution of food, and gotta get it for the crossing of the street there, you know. fellow citizen crossing the street. Gotta be prudent, you know. I don't want anybody getting hit by cars when I'm hawking, hawk, H-A-W-K on the, oh, there it is. Oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna take one for me, one for my sister. I'm gonna take some sandwiches. Thank you so much. I'm gonna see for me, peanut butter jelly Wednesday. I guess a little bit of peanut butter jelly Wednesday and milk. Yeah, I'm gonna take some milk. So I'm just gonna unload a little bit. My backpack, that is. Gonna take some sandwiches. Yeah. And some milk. Fill milk. Small milk. That's it. Leave some for others, so I wish I could fill it up here. Not just one time, just fill it all up, and that'll be a nice proponent for me to fill it up for citizens to put and take a little bit of that food, you know, something which we gotta be meditating about, you know, as we go get it on the love side. There we go. So hey, got a bit of that food here, local pantry, and it's always appreciated, you know. So always something which we gotta be on that love side of things, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, you know. So it's something which we gotta be appreciating. Food security starts with the farmers, bakers, butchers, nurses, doctors, and grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food, and that's how we gotta get some of that good loving for them and accept, you know, accept that of course civilization is a privilege, and we gotta get on that little V, and we gotta be prudent when you cross the street. Cross your heads left and right, and watch out for the cars, you know, so that we don't get hit by the car there to the left and the right. And now I'm gonna cross, and let's cross it on the side. My fellow children there, be careful with the cars, you know, crossing, and it's always something, you know, like a hawk, you know. Nobody gonna get hit by a car under my watch. That's for sure, you know. And I say on the car, or at least try to be a good Samaritan here. And we have the Good Samaritan law. Quebec a little bit of that old school. He takes a little bit of that old school with the new school as I freestyling my marching dances in the sun. And oh yeah, the sun pierced a little bit of those clouds. It was cloudy, but now I guess I got the green light for my King the Pope, and getting on that third day of the holy writing of the book of the law here. It is Thursday, April 10th, and financially stressed, but grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, and got that food. Gotta salute the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the construction workers, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And I think that's a 5G, 4G, 5G, 3G tower there. How it works a little bit. I have a little bit of knowledge, not too much, but know my geopolitics to the point that I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist who takes great pride in the geopolitical work that I do and that I have done, especially since, of course, October, November 2019, whereas I predicted the international conflagration, which is happening now. I have predicted it back, of course, in 2019. I predicted an international conflagration, and that's what I predicted back in 2019, of course, under the consequential prediction based on analysis, not on prophecy necessarily in a prophetic manner like a seer who has visions or prophecy, but based on tangible real geopolitics. To make a summary is that I predicted that due to the fact that many nation states, civilizations and regions were not fully, of course, they not fully resolved their conflicts from the 21st century. Of course, that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with with that LOVE, and that's what it is with the XYZ, and that's what we gotta get doing, for the collective North American civilization. My theories are for the collective North American civilization to implement my Trinity of theories and to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions. So back to my analysis of 2019, I have predicted, of course, that due to an international conflagration on the horizon coming in the coming 7 years, so from 2019 October November, coming 7 years, and it's been unfolding in a general manner just like I predicted it. One of my main premise, of course, to summarize and to make a great summary, is that due to the fact that I predicted that due to the fact that many civilizations, nation states, were not fully able to resolve their conflicts, these conflicts from the 20th century are going to restart and going to recommence in the 21st century. So that was the main premise of my premise. Oh, there's the yellow, finally yellow flowers. I just love yellow flowers. Here got a few, but the yellow ones are special to me, at least, and these are pretty beautiful, pretty nice. First yellow of the season for me. I just love yellow flowers anyway. Now you know my secret, my weaknesses, try to use it against me, I guess. If you can, I guess you can use it. Got a tiny little schmeckle, tiny little clit. You can use that also. Got plenty of scars on my body. Sunshine and get that beam from the eye of the sky. Flash. From the sky, I meant. From the eye of the sky. Anyways, back to geopolitics. Back to geopolitics, of course, was due to the fact that I have predicted in a general manner again. So I have to state that I predicted in a general manner. So not every detail has been falling into place. It's just the overall and generally I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration in the coming 7 years. So that was in October, November 2019. And consequently, to make a summary, is that I said due to the fact, I concluded that due to the fact that many nations, states, civilizations, geopolitical regions have not fully resolved their conflicts, that's of course, they're going to restart in the 21st century. So that's what we have been seeing. The Russia-Ukraine geopolitical crises, right? The crisis, the war that we call military invasion, and all those terminologies to say that is the biggest armed conflict since the Second World War. But again, I'm not on the ground with 300 men and women to do an assessment and to pass time and to do a whole exploration in depth and more profound on the ground. So I'm here as a Quebecer North American. So as a Quebecer Canadian North American, I'm going to have some limitations in my geopolitical analysis and so many assumptions and ignorances which are not fully being able to be revealed, because I don't have 300 men and women to go on the ground with them, and I haven't been on the ground with 300 men and women, of course, to be on the ground with 300 men and women, to be on the ground, of course, to explore more in depth the international conflagration, which of course has been unfolding since more than 3 years now. So that was the main premise, that due to the fact that many nation states, civilizations or regions, that they have not fully resolved their conflict in the 20th century, they're gonna restart in the 21st century. So by and large, that's what has been happening in the past 44 months or so, 45 months or so. Truckers, butchers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. So as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, again, who takes great pride in the geopolitical work that I have been doing and I'm doing on a daily basis. Now with the stock market crash, it rebounded yesterday, but of course it rebounded yesterday, but now of course it kind of restarted a little bit because it's another day which the stock market has fallen, with the fifth day, I guess we could say, although yesterday it rebounded due to the kind of remission or backing, whatever we want to call it. There has been a 90-day pause from the understanding, although some tariffs remain. It's still to be clarified, a little bit of clarity among the confusion. Sometimes, we get a little bit of clarity among the confusion, but what I can tell you 100% is that so many things I don't know. I do know that in 2019 I predicted an international conflagration, which is and has been in the past more than 45 months, more than 3.5 years, has been happening. And I had COVID and I'm celebrating I am celebrating my surviving COVID, and having survived COVID. COVID was like death, pestilence, and disease for me. I thought I was gonna die of COVID, when I had COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. I say like a rock and roll kind of song, heavy death, thrash metal. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, but that's kind of like how I felt. And I got triple vax, 3 vaccines. I try to keep the protocols in the protocols of the hygienic protocols for that. But that's what I gotta get doing with that, the hygienic protocols, because I don't know what caused COVID, although I believe COVID was transmitted from snakes to human beings. I cannot rule another possibility. Another possibility I cannot rule out, because I don't know for sure. Although my belief is limited, I cannot rule out another possibility. Whatever that possibility is, being a man made in a lab, just like the CIA revised that it was actually more plausible, and they believe that it was actually engineered in a laboratory in China. I cannot rule that out, although I believe primarily that it was snakes, which transmitted it. But I cannot rule out another possibility. What I do know for sure is that before COVID, I predicted an international conflagration. I also created a workout training program system, which I've performed more than 372 sessions myself, and I've lost between 80 and 93 pounds. 80 and 93 pounds since 2017, when I started working out, training, exercising. And of course, that was when I predicted. That was before my prediction, but before that I was depressed, I was suicidal, and I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017 in August, and went to Vancouver, British Columbia, and then of course from August, and then in September I went to the other side, to the east, to the Atlantic, So I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that event made me change my whole life. That really turned my whole life around. That was really a major event in my life. When I turned my whole life around, I started working out, training, exercising, and I started, of course, exercising. And 2019, I created a workout training program system, and even now, I'm on a little bit of that workout, and I'm gonna back away here because I'm gonna stay a little bit far away because I'm getting a little bit of that gas, a little bit of that CO2. So I'm gonna try to stay as far, of course, from the gas as possible, from the exhaust, unless I start coughing and what have you. So I'm just gonna do some sun salutation and salute the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. It's been through hell, been through suffering, been scarred, and survived COVID, survived being depressed, lived with retrograde amnesia, loss of memory. I remember moving from a moldy place here on the island of Montreal, Hog Island Metropolis Island. It's a big island metropolis, second most populated in Canada, 2.5 million people, about 7th or 8th, top 10 in North America, most populated, even when it includes Mexico. So that's what I know, and I moved from a moldy place about 10 years ago or so. And then I got those blackouts of memories, Blackouts. I have trouble remembering my life prior to me moving and living there. It's like blackouts. I got some trauma, some flashes, of being attacked by surprise a few years ago. Hit my head, and had a dislocated right arm, and other trauma, surprise attack, and what have you. And live with scars, and I do not like violence. I don't like violence, but I have been, and I am in World War III mode ever since 2019, and I am hyper vigilant, and I play that defense. Like I say, Dragonomy, we're gonna play that D. Only DDD, Dragonomy, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the Quebec, Canada, United States, fusing the north, true north, strong and free with the south, and creating the SSD Dragonomy. That is the call to all. Willingly loving, pledge your allegiance to our family. Willingly loving, pledge your allegiance to our family, and that is the call to all. Willingly loving, pledge your allegiance to our family for the SSD principle. The SSD, security, service and defense, the SSD principle and protocols of my CIT, citizen integration theory, and the DRT, death fusion theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory, for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. And that's what we gotta be doing, ASAP. And gotta salute the firefighters and public workers. Today is gonna pick up a little bit of that compost. Today is gonna pick up a little bit of that compost. So I gotta salute them, give them some love and rock and roll, because that's why they gotta get doing with that. And That's what they gotta get doing on the Rock&Roll. So something which I gotta be mindful of. And the firefighters, the butchers, you know, the public workers, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know, for the North American Collective, and that's how we gotta get on that Rock&Roll, you know. Salutation for them. Finance millionaires, billionaires, finance these public workers who pick up the garbage, pick up the compost, and pick up the collection, you know. That's what they gotta be doing, you know. Pick up the compost today in my neighborhood, and I worked on the compost about between September 2018 and March 2019, a few months on the compost. So I brought it in, and it's today, Thursday. So I took it out, and there's gonna be some compost done, and let's do the DGA, finance, public-private partnership. Everything that I do on call for the establishment thereof is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership. And speaking of nature, calling for the establishment of the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, to be in parallel with the Dragon Army, the North American Integrated Security, Service and Defense Legion, the 63 legions of the 10 provinces and 10 territories of Canada and 50 states, mobilizing 1% of the population to be coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Canada, United States joint, and integrated with all existing public and private security institutions and organizations, to be for done via the SSD principle, the Security, Service and Defense 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 for the SSD principle, you know, and for Security, Service and Defense. And here we are in nature, where I love to be, in nature and civilization. Please don't pollute. If you come here, you're gonna chant a little bit of that priestess, HNH, keep my name out of your mouth if it's not full blessing. Adrian Hannah Dragon rebirthing, died during COVID, nothing that I will to go back to. Today's April 10th, carpe diem it. Consent, make some LOV, and if you're black, white, men and women, black women, black men, white men, black men, rainbow, all the colors, whoever want to make LOV, men and women, you gotta be 18. I'm gonna card you. I'm gonna card you, just like, you know, I'm gonna ask for your cards just like when you go to buy liquor, alcohol, or cigarettes, or legal, L-E-G-A-L, legal cannabis. And we have that legal cannabis here in Quebec, you know, Canada. So if you want to make some LOV with yours truly, you better have those cards ready, because it's got to be 18 plus for loving. But I hope somebody making that LOV today. Otherwise, what are we saving to save? Fight to save for Wall Street got their money, millionaires, billionaires, they got their pay, millionaires, algorithms, blah blah blah. I'm financially stressed, open for business, so many things I don't know. I do know I predicted what's happening now in a general manner back in 2019, October, November, and I believe fully in my Trinity or theories to be implemented via the fourth dimension, that Trinity, via the fourth dimension, LOVE, the DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory, and the CIT for the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institution, being the Dancing Goddess Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, to dance for the environment and civilization, and the Dragon Army, the North American Integrated Security and Service League, the North American. Yeah, I do love. Love is good. Love is good. Here we're trying to preserve it. So the North American Integrated Dance League. This is a place of nature, right in the midst of the big highways, eh? So we got some good love in here to do. Still got a lot of cleaning. And the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, there's a circle. Then I invent the goddess. Please don't smoke and pollute. Goddess, Judas. There we go. So we're gonna get that implementation, and here we got a place of preservation in nature. So please preserve it if you come here. We got to do the individual and the collective, eh? So it requires individual work, and it requires individual work, and then it requires collective work to do, of course, all the work that we do. Fundamentally, of course, my call is for a public-private partnership, a PPP, public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex across North America. And here we're in the wilderness again, right in the midst of the urban jungle. We have this place called La Falaise here, where I have done volunteering in the past, and I do volunteering on the mountain, and sometimes here, of course, to take and all the pollution, the cans, all the things that do not go in nature, all the things which have to be recycled, all the things, it's pretty clean now, but all the things which have to be recycled and cleaned, recycled, and because we got squirrels, we got flora, fauna, and we have to do the individual, because if we don't do it on an individual basis, it's individual and collective, it's always 50-50, eh? He's a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist who's not perfect, far from it. Who encourages all to work out, train, exercise, and working out, training, exercising has been and is and will be my medicine and therapy of choice, will be my medicine and therapy of choice. Working out, training, and some of that sun, and the moon's gonna be full Saturday, the Sabbath of the Dancing Goddess Dragon Kingdom. Today is Thursday, April 10th, and celebrating Holy Third Day, and did 2 laundries, sent some emails for business. Open for business 24/7, geopolitics, rock and roll, and sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport activity, and calling all willing, loving, pledge your allegiance, sport a dream. My dream is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership for and across and for the collective North American civilizational complex, or the collective North American civilizational complex, to establish 2 complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, with the Dancing Goddess Army, with the Dragon Army, the North American Citizen Integrated Security Service Force by the SSD principle. We rock and roll, we roam. Sing a little bit of that cadence for the truckers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, LOV, those flipping some hamburger, cheeseburgers, planes in the sky, airports, pilots, and see how my brain now works and functions. Due to the fact that geopolitics is my special interest, I see those trucks going east, going north, actually they're not going neither north or south. They're going east and west, correction, because that's north and that's south, where my brothers and sisters are in the United States. So that they're going now east and west. But see how my brain switches due to the fact that geopolitics is my special interest, aka obsessive interest, because we Aspies who have Asperger's like myself, I have this neurological mental divergent condition and Asperger's, and I can be pretty weird and in the conversations and in the way that we communicate, non-verbal and oral manner of communication. But we have our strengths, we also have our weaknesses, and we're less able in certain things such as society, social norms and social communication, but we can have our strengths in certain things. And I am part of this minority, less than 1%, less than 0.5%. It's about 0.44%, so there's not a lot of Aspies. I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population, small fraction of the population who have this, and it's not a mental illness, it's a neurological mental divergent condition. Our brains are made different, so the structure of our brains are made different, that we look at the world in different ways. So we see that we're different, and our brains are different, so the way we interact with society, nature, society, and is different, and we can be super intense, super focused, super concentrated when we're involved in those special interests. And for me, my holy trinity of special interest, aka obsessive interest, although do not use special interest over much, because I use special interest as a terminology instead of obsessive, because obsessive has a more negative sense and connotation to the word, so obsessive is more of a negative connotation, while special interest is something which is more appropriate for an Aspie with like myself, who has 3 special interests, Holy Trinity, and that's 24/7. Geopolitics, geopolitical theorizing and analysis on a daily basis, on a daily basis, and I write theories as a geopolitical theoretical analyst and philosopher who has predicted what's happening now. Again, I go back to my major opus work in 2019 in October, November, while also rock and roll being rock and roll. I like to rock and roll. Always rock and roll for the farmers on the road, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, those sleeping some hamburgers. Those in the cleaning workers, nurses, and the truckers and the doctors gotta give some hello, Wall Street. It ain't all about what you can eat, what you sell and buy. That speculation gotta die. Gotta see on coast to coast, ocean to ocean for that SSD. Pledge your allegiance, Legion's Dragon Army. And of course, dancing is my favorite sport, but sports and fitness generally, but dancing being my favorite sport. And even now you can see where there's a light, there's a shadow, do a little bit of dance. Where there's a light of the shadow, do a little bit of dance where there's a light of the shadow. But that's what it is with that. And they're going east and west. East and west, they're going east and west. And my brain now switches to geopolitics. So I put into the context of the geopolitical realities of today, and with the possibility of what could happen today, now, or later on, tonight, tomorrow, or by the time these trucks reach their destination. With in mind the security of Quebec, Canada, and the North American Collectif as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Some of my work is very sensitive for national security. So some of these trucks carry important goods such as milk, bread, butter, beans, sausages, bacon, lettuce, other goods, bananas or apples or sausages, other edible goods. Right, but they're open for sabotage and espionage. So they're open for espionage and sabotage because we made powerful enemies now. We made powerful nuclear armed enemies, and there's a growing coalition of fundamental powerful enemies which we made outside of the North American civilizational complex, or what I call the NORAD-NATO complex, because most of my work I do it as a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, as much as I am for world peace and international citizen, and for global affairs, international citizen, and for global affairs. Fundamentally, I am a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, and as much as I know the ideologies, philosophies of other nation states, geopolitical regions, and civilizational complexes, at the end of the day, my interests, my work has been done as from this island right here, especially in the past, I would say 7+ years, ever since I got out of being depressed and suicidal in 2017, in the summer of 2017, crossing Canada coast to coast. That made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, and having established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, our family, consider Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, my brothers and sisters in the USA as well, family. So pledge your allegiance, legions to our families, the rock and roll song 24/7, and that's what I gotta be doing, and that's how I rock and roll, So these is just how my brain works. It directs towards one of my main special interests, which is geopolitics. So most of my work, most of my days, most of my time on a daily routine basis revolves in me, sometimes super in it, super intense, super concentrated, super dedicated, involved in either geopolitical studies, geopolitical analysis, theorizing on a daily basis, because geopolitical events fluctuate on a daily basis. And now the major geopolitical event of the past days, the past week, has been ever since April 2nd, so-called Liberation Day, where the whole dynamics of the world trading system established since more than 44 years, since the 1980s or so, the opening up of China has been kind of turned upside down in many ways, with the biggest market, the biggest consumer, the biggest economy in the world by far, as some would say, has decided to take a more aggressive economic nationalism, as my auntie Christia Freeling put it, and pursuing an aggressive economic nationalist policy. I'm not Trump supporter, far from being a Trump supporter, you know. And I was born in the USA 3 times. Just read George Patton, Through a Glass Darkly. One of my favorite poems is where George Patton states his belief in reincarnations. And of course, one of my favorite is Through a Glass Darkly. And I was also born in the United States 3 times. Once as a woman, twice as a man. George Patton was one of my wife. One was a woman also in a past life. Was my wife in a past life. George Patton was my wife in the past life. George Patton was my wife in the past life. So, got to rock and roll today, 10th of April 2025, and it's got to get rid of the border. Granddaddy Trump, you know, it's not the way. Take those tariffs off, please, please, please. Let's fight on the Canadian-US border and build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum to be 11 times the biggest, most majestic Coliseum ever built in the history of mankind. On the Canadian-US border, public-private partnership, Canada-United States joint fusion, implement the census, implement the census, great census, create a common passport, common currency, and build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, which I will, to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess. GODDS says the Forgotten Goddess Temple, because I created me surviving COVID to the goddess. Forgotten Goddess, so let's build the Forgotten Goddess Temple and build the house, pyramid, scarlet, crimson, scarlet, our shades of red, the House of the Dragon, pyramid, House of the Dragons, crimson, scarlet, and the House of the Dragon, crimson, scarlet, and the Forgotten Goddess Temple with it, and of course to build the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergent LGBTQ plus community, fellow neurodivergent LGBTQ plus community, fellow neurodivergent LGBTQ plus community. That's what we got to build, and we build those 4. And me and Donald Trump fighting on the Canadian-US border, and you know, we're not enemies, but do it properly. Invite Canadians properly. Invite Canadians with some apple pie baking, cherry pie baking, caramel pie baking, chocolate pie baking, shrimp pie baking, bacon pie baking, salami pie baking. Not pie as in mathematics, but as in the edible, comestible pie, P-I-E. Bake some raisin grape, some grape pies, some cherry pies, some cheese pies, some egg pies, and some peach pies. Lots of pies, peach pies across the 50 states, and with some marching bands and marching bands. Oh, there's a dog there, and I have some allergies, so with some marching bands, and that's what we gotta go doing, and so we gotta get doing with that. It's not that I don't like them, I have allergies. J'ai des allergies, c'est pas parce que je les aime pas. Ok, c'est beau. So I got some allergies. Except for poodles, so I gotta be careful, you know. Otherwise I start sneezing, you know. It's better with a muzzle, you know, so it's better with a muzzle. With that, I understand, of course, my fellow auntie there wants to do the dog, and I'm not upset. I'm hyper vigilant and prudent, you know. Hyper vigilant and prudent. Hyper vigilant and prudent, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing. And I just let people know if they're not poodles, I get a bit. I have, you know, you see in one of my videos from last year when it gets so close on the mountain, my stay at home, they get so close, and I start sneezing like achoo, 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 like 5 times. So again, bake some pies, do some dancing, invite Canadian properly, and you know, we're gonna implement the DRT, we're gonna create the Dragon Army, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. That's what we're gonna get doing with the rock and roll. So it's something which we gotta be doing, you know, for the construction workers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. So it's something which we gotta be on the doing, you know. So yeah. So I LOV the dogs from afar, because otherwise I start sneezing. It's not hardcore severe allergic reactions, but I just sneeze, and I don't know if they get worse if I start petting them more. But there's the hawk, there's my totem bird, the hawk. I'm happy now. Hawks, plural, H-A-W-K, in the sky. I don't know how visible they are in the camera, but they're hovering above me. Tiny piece of dust, nobody that I am, but there they gotta do with that, and that's what they gotta do on the XYZ, you know. So there's the hawks, you know, H-A-W-K, you know, and that's what we gotta get doing. And the H-A-W-K, see, hawk, 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 H-A-W-K in the sky. Hawk, 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 H-A-W-K, hawk, hawk, hawk in the sky. That's what we're gonna get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the love, man. Time to discuss the DRT, debt refusion T, the DRT, debt refusion T for the creation of the UE. The DRT, debt refusion T, is the only solution, my brothers and sisters. You can argue all you want, but the fact remains that we have paid on the Canadian public debt 46.5. Look at the hawk, H-A-W-Ks, those are hawks. See? Yeah, three hawks. There's a fourth one. Oh, the other ones are not really hawks. Those two are hawks. Twins. The other ones are not, but those are. So back to the DRT. Last year, we paid 46.5 billion in interest. That's 46,000 million. 46,000 million. 46,000 million. Compute that number for a minute. So that was just the amount of interest which we paid on the public debt of Canada. Compute that. Think about that. A billion has 9 zeros, so that 46.5 billion, just the interest on the public debt of Canada, is the equivalent of 46,000 million. 46,000 million of 46,000 million. 46,000 million. So 46,000 million, that is the amount of interest which was paid on the public debt, 46,000 million. That was the amount of interest, you know. So due to that fact, my DRT theory is the only solution. My DRT theory is the only solution for the creation of the universal exchange rate. I just love a little bit of that red. So back in 2021, the number was 20.3 billion. Good for you, fellow cousin. Keep working out. I love you with that. Go an extra mile, double that. I love to see people working out, training, exercising, and that's what we gotta get doing. So again, the number was 46.5 billion. 46.5 billion. That was the number. 46.5 billion. 46.5 billion. That was the number paid in interest only. So that's the interest. In 2020, 2021, the number was 20.3 billion. 20.3 billion double is 40.6. So you notice that just in 3 years, the number has more than doubled from 20.3 to 46.5. Yes, due to COVID, which I hadn't survived. Yes, due to COVID, the programs which were implemented during COVID had to be, of course, implemented. There's the downtown Montreal. So the programs which had to be implemented during COVID, the programs which had to be implemented during COVID, of course, made it so that the interest payments have more than doubled. Due to that fact. So due to the fact of COVID. So that is just the reality. But nonetheless, just the interest has more than doubled. So think about that. See? That's the downtown core area which we see. Montreal. Downtown core area of Montreal. Hawk Island, Montreal, which we see. That is just the downtown core area which we see. So that is just the fact. So the fact remains that the interest is not sustainable. The interest is not sustainable. So the amount of interest has more than doubled, and it's not sustainable. Just like an individual whose interest payments double, if the salary doesn't double, the individual has to reduce the spending. Take big medication on spending. You're gonna have to reduce. Let's say an individual citizen in 2020, 2021 paid $156. 156 double, that's 312. All right, 312. So if it's more than double, it has to be like 333, from $156 to 333. While his salary, their salary increases only by 5, 10, or 15%. Still has to reduce the spending, reduce the budget. Maybe stop smoking cigarettes, stop going out to the movies, stop spending on Netflix, stop reducing the cost of the internet, reducing the cost of the phone. So the principle is that one has to reduce and cut the budget, the spending. So the same mathematical financial principle applies in the public financial system, public financial sector, because the interest on the Canadian debt paid last year has doubled in just 3 years. And yes, due to COVID, the coronavirus, because we had to implement those programs. But it jumped from 20.3 in 2020, 2021, the fiscal year, to 46.5. So these numbers you can check with the Bank of Canada. Auntie Chrystia Freeland, of course, Auntie resigned, but you can check with Tiff Macklin or whatever have you. So there you realize that we're on the verge of a public financial collapse of Canada, because it's not sustainable. A public financial collapse of Canada. It's on the horizon. There's a public financial collapse of Canada. On the horizon, there's a public financial collapse of Canada. You realize this, right? You realize because what are we gonna cut? The healthcare, the prisons, correctional facilities, the sanitation. Gonna have to cut because our GDP didn't double, right? The GDP only increased a few percentage, so you realize we're gonna have to start cutting in the budget. Sanitation, healthcare, public, those who pick up the garbage, the trash in the cities, in the public, sanitation, healthcare, the prisons, the police, RCMP, security services, national security, the military, the army. It's just the reality. That's just the reality. There's no way out of this but my DRT theory, DRT, or something which resembles it. Love the way. Me too. See, now I put it in the geopolitical context. I know that it's going east. Now I'm stepping west. So the DRT theory, my theory, paradoxically coming from me being cursed, suffered not just loneliness and scars and financial precariousness due to Asperger's as well, but due to the curse of Asperger's, which made me lose a lot of employment, have put on the table the DRT theory. The debt refusion theory, which includes monetary integration theory. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, their 10,000, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And my DRT theory contains also monetary integration theory, which is, of course, the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union by the Europeans. When the Europeans destroyed their national central banks, the Germans, the Italians, and they created the ECB, a multinational ECB, the ECB, European Central Bank, to issue the euro. So in my theory, the DRT, debt refusion theory, is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory, which was implemented by the Europeans in the 1990s, about more than 25 years ago, 3 decades ago or so. So again, there's no other solution. You can argue all you want. It has to resemble my DRT theory. It's just where we are today, 10th of April 2025, the mathematical financial principle. So DRT, we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, all the debt, public and private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, whatever, who's 10,000, all the public private debt, we're gonna convert it to US dollars. So my $10,000 to the RBC, because I don't have credit cards and I pay 10.44 interest. So my $10,000, your $10,000, all of it, refuse it coast to coast, added with the United States, because the United States in a similar public and private financial situation, added with the public and the private debt of the United States. All that money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank, whatever we call it. And we're gonna create this new central bank. We're going to issue a new currency called the UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The universal exchange unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. Universal exchange unit. The universal exchange unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit via the DRT. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE will have the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. It cannot be more than 10%. It can be less. By principle, 3.33, 7.18, 6.1, 9.3, 1.56, and so on and so on and so on. By principle, it will not be able to be more than 10% after we implement my DRT theory. Create the UE. By that money, we're going to rebuild the highways, the infrastructure, the bridges, mass finance, citizens' fitness, mass build those 44 tunnels. The number after 43 before 45 is 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. Inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and the Montreal Underground Village, and also parallel to the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, to put our brothers and sisters who lost their liberty to build those 44 tunnels for the North American Civilizational Complex survival in case of a thermonuclear war, which we are on the possibility of the umbrella of a thermonuclear war at any minute and any day. It could be an invasion by China invading Taiwan tonight. China could invade Taiwan tonight. Why did the People's Republic of China, why did the People's Republic of China in the past 5 years, since February 2020, since COVID began till about last year, why did they augment, increase, and build, mass produce more ICBM rockets, nuclear capable, and nuclear warheads, which they haven't built in almost 45 years, since the 1980s. They increased by about 25 to 40%. They went from about 400 till about 6 or maybe 620, 650 estimated. So you wonder how come they mass increased in just 5 years. They decided to mass produce nuclear warheads and ICBM. So it's a question mark. And recently, there's in the past 3.5 years, 42 months, there has been mass drills around the island of Taiwan, which again is a conflict which did not fully resolve from the 20th century. It's a conflict which dates from the 20th century, just like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, the Middle East, or Israel, Hamas, Israel, the Arab world, however we want to use the terminologies to frame it. That's what I predicted back in 2019, that conflicts from the 20th century, major focal point of conflicts, are going to restart. So that's what's been happening. And paradoxically, again, to the finance situation, my DRT theory is the only solution, or something similar. You can argue all you want, brothers and sisters, but fundamentally, we're on the verge of a public. It could happen tonight. It could happen today. It could happen tomorrow morning, Monday. Black swan event, the public financial collapse of Canada. Just like an individual will have to declare bankrupt. If the interest payments of an individual more than double in just a short amount of time, 3 years, while the salary does not, one has to cut the spending. That's the same principle with the public financial system of Canada. It's on the verge of a public financial collapse. You realize just the numbers. It went from 20.3 billion to 46.5 billion. That's a billion, has 9 zeros. That's 46,000 million last year just in interest. So the DRT, debt refusion theory, with that, implementing the DRT, we're going to mass finance reconstruction of the infrastructure, the bridges, the highways, mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, build those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war across the North American Collective, stack them with food, cans, and food which have a lot of shelf life, mass finance North American, Canada, United States tourism, because it does great for mental health and general wellness, to travel and see all this great Canada, Great Quebec, which we have, and the 50 states. Get that 63 legions, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Imperial Peoples, SSD. 4, no, by the principle only 4, SSD, Security Service and Defense, Security Service and Defense, SSD, Security Service and Defense, and with the Dragon Army, the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA, the North American Integrated Dance League, to dance for pleasure and purpose, and to plant more trees, to re-environmental purpose, for the environment, to plant trees, for the environment, to do a lot of action on the individual basis, education in the public, education in the recycling, education in the compost and doing it, and clean the rivers, the oceans, clean the trees, clean the flora, clean the fauna, clean the forests, and do an individual and collective DGA in that pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist for the democratic imperial republic of North America and Canada, United States fused, and implement a great census across Canada, United States, a great census of the population who's been living here for the past 7+ years, you know, and do a new passport to the kingdom. The Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, fundamentally a public-private partnership to fuse the true north, strong and free is not enough. Strength and freedom, gotta add some LOV, love in action. And the home of the brave and the land of the free is not enough. Freedom and home of the brave and the land of the free, and the land of the free and the home of the brave. Gotta add some love, and we're gonna rebuild the North American ghettos. We're gonna rebuild the North American inner urban cities, the ghettos of Canada, United States, the inner urban cities, which need mass rebuilding, rebuild more public parks, public infrastructure, public-private partnership, my dream. The DRT, we're gonna rebuild the North American ghettos and get that defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, pledge your legions. Adrian Hanna, Dragon Androgynous Pansexual founder, laying the foundations for the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom first and foremost with 718 trillions of kisses. I got 718 trillions of kisses created from the Forgotten Goddess, GODDSS, the Forgotten Goddess, which has created yours truly 718 trillions of kisses. And here across the North American collective, saluting the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, truckers on the road, and the railway conductors, the warehouse workers, those in the ports and the airports. Best to get rid of the border and focus on security and service, ports to coast, ocean to ocean, and we gotta build new infrastructure across North American collective where citizens can go and monitor all the activities in the public, total surveillance for the public, and integrated via the CIT citizen integration theory, and see where it needs to be done. Volunteering to build those 44 tunnels, and or clean the environment, or work out, train, exercise, or do sports and fitness 24/7 while we're gonna build on the Canadian US border the mega most biggest sports coliseum arena integrated for university, high school, and NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB sports facilities, all sports 24/7, 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome where the Hardball Ball, aka Blackout Ball, was built. To build it on the Canadian US border, 11 times bigger than the Hardball, where the Hardball Ball, aka Blackout Ball, Hardball is the surname. One of my favorite Super Bowls where the 49ers lost, and I love gridiron North American football, but dancing, dancing, D-A-N-C-I-N-G. Dancing is my favorite sport, and dancing is a sport. And me and Donald Trump, we're gonna box on the Canadian-US border. We're and we're gonna start building the Forgotten Goddess, GODDSS. I credit me surviving COVID, being depressed, suicidal, living with scars, to the goddess who credited me 718 trillions of kisses to build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, and to be 11 times bigger than the Harbor Ball. And the Forgotten Goddess Temple doesn't need my temples because she's got the pyramids, and I'm just a piece of dust. But I got the dream, so I'm having some laying on the table, also some massages, some feet washing, because construction workers rock and roll, you know. when they go on those cranes on steel toes with those boots and the metals to build all the great North American cities, the skyscrapers, LOV, construction workers, 24/7 rock and roll. Let's build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum and the Dragon Army, and to be for that SSD, only security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. 63 legions. 63 legions, 63, one for each political entity of Canada and United States. 10 provinces, 3 territories. The king is absent. Time for the republic, the fusion. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Best, we don't need the border. It's best to focus on security, the ports and the airports, and gotta know everything that's coming in outside of Canada and United States. On the ports, ports. Gotta know all the merchandise, all the ports, all the airports, and of course the CIT, citizen integration theory, to have surveillance and to have all the big cities on the big places like Coliseum-like spaces to build, where is big telescreens to see all the highways by webcams in the big cities and the highways, and see the big webcams in the cities, and see the trains, and to have citizen integration tree for security, service, and defense. Part of my complex of the North American Civilizational Collective as a philosopher, artist, athlete, who encourages all to work out, train, exercise, and we're gonna credit some UEs to do my workout, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. To do my workout, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. To do my workout, we're gonna credit some UEs, Universal Exchanging, which we're gonna create, and that's what we're gonna build. And those flipping some burgers, LOV, some hamburgers, cheeseburgers with pizzas, and those laying some new 5G towers. 3G, 4G, 5G, and we got a mass security, do a reform and a reshape of all the North American collective infrastructure, telecommunications, because probably been some espionage and sabotage and infiltration now that we are on the verge of a World War III, as I have predicted, a geopolitical complex, and I've predicted on the go, and that's how we gotta get going for the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and gotta see who's going there on the side. They're going west, as I'm heading west, and they're going on the east side, and that's how we gotta get going on the love side of things, to getting on the south. See all those, that's the towers, and there's a lot of snow there with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and so we gotta get doing on the love, so sometimes which we gotta get on the operational side here, and I gotta switch it up, and gotta enter here and go, and gonna go right here, right back to where we came, and gonna switch it on the go, and see on the love side here, pop, going back in the falaise, refreshing some of that fresh air, and I'm gonna switch it on a little bit of La Belle Province, and that's what we're gonna get doing, and so we're gonna get on that love side of things, and we gotta get on that something else, all my brothers and sisters there, my cousin, my brothers and sisters were blacks, black men, black women, 13.3, 13.4%, my neighbors included, our brothers and sisters, and all who come to join us here in the kingdom, the North American Collective, from all over the world, because we are an emergent civilizational complex, we're new. And there's my yellow flowers again. Now I'm double happy. I just LOV, yellow flowers. I just LOV. I just love yellow flowers. I got my second yellow flower dose, and now I'm heading back because I'm on the bit hungry, and gotta go train a little bit of that brain, do some math at home, and back to geopolitics, doing some emails, financial stress, but open for business 24/7. Let's do some cadence. Dragon Army, rock and roll. On the go for SSD. Security, service, and defense. Gotta singing up, on the road and on the go. For the left and for the right. For the 63, the legion's might. For the 63, the legion's might. For the 63, the legion's might. I don't bark and I don't bite. And we don't bite and we don't bark. We do D for the defense. We do D for the defense. We do D for the defense. We channel the aggression with some push-ups and some hugs. We channel the aggression with some push-ups and some hugs. We channel the aggression with some push-ups and some hugs. We're the army, not some thugs. We're for justice, not some thugs. With some justice, that's the freedom gotta be ensured. Gotta give me some love. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. 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 When I say I'm the greatest cuckold, I say you're the greatest cuckold, General Dragon. When I'm the greatest cuckold in the universe, you say you're the greatest cuckold. I'm the greatest cuckold in the universe. Let's go, give me some push-ups. When I say push-ups, you do push-ups. If you're tired, maybe you get permission for some rest. Gotta give a lance and best. Got a melody for the free. Got a cadence for the strong. And got a rock and roll for the loving. For the who? For the butchers, for the bakers. For the nurses and the doctors. For the truckers and the firefighters. For the lovers and the youth. For the lovers and the youth. For the lovers and the youth. Gotta give me some charity. Got some scars and you can see. Got some scars so you can see. Steel toe boots or running shoes. Got a left and right amuse. Gotta give and right and fuse. Dragging on me, that's the blues. Dragging on me, that's the blues. Gotta get in out of sight. Up in the sky, there's satellites. Up in the sky, there's satellites. Microchips inside the heights. For the trees and for the bacon. For the cooks. Give me some loving. Gotta get it for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses. Firefighters and the truckers. Chopping on the helicopters. Whoop! Do not harm the spiders. Dragging on me, we do not harm the spiders. Got the birds and out of sight. In the sky there's satellites. Dragging on me that collective. Playing so that you can see left. Oh, we gotta do a lot of cleaning. Yeah, we gotta do a lot of cleaning. Gotta do a lot of cleaning. Got some trash out here to see it. Gotta be so you can see it. Oh yeah, we gotta do lots of cleaning. Purple and white and black and rainbow. Dragging on me, chant, let's go. Oh, we gotta do lots of cleaning. Lots of cleaning, lots of cleaning. Let's go the marching steps. Sometimes just holler if you need a rest. Hands up if you need a rest. Looking back shoulder to shoulder. Only forward that we go. Towards the sun, ready some more. Please do not pollute that rock and roll. Recycled bottles on the go. Public workers. Public workers got a firefighters. Butchers and the train conductors. And the train conductors. and the train conductors carrying some merchandise. As they know up in the sky, for the land and for the water, for the seas and for the mountains, for the sun up in the sky. That's the cream, ready, don't hide. Gotta get it for the lights. That's the love up in the sights. Another pressed up in the sight. Do some push-ups and some hugs and some squats. Marching steps. To the left and to the right we do those marching steps. To the left and to the right we do the marching steps. That's the right and that's the sight. For the left and that's the bite. For the left and that's the bite. For the left and that's the bite. For another cream in sight. So you know we just right. Hey, you know we got some clean. And you know we got some clean. Clean, that's the new, that's the machines. For the left, for the scream. Whoa, we got a lot of cleaning here. Yikes, DGA, we really need that DGA Dragonomy, ASAP, ASAP. Emergency, emergency, emergency. Oh yeah. Oh, it's awful, awful, awful. It's awful for the environment. We really have to go and do big cleaning. Big, big, big cleaning. It's really bad. Oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna go on this side here. It's really bad. Really bad, man. Thus we go to go. Kissing on some more, kissing on some more. Gotta give it go galore, gotta give it go galore. For the glow and for the hope. For the styling, that's the show. Gotta go ocean to ocean. Gotta go to ocean to ocean. Gotta go 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 ocean to ocean. So the feet up in the sky, in the sky. Gotta go ocean to ocean. Gotta switch some flavors lights. Gotta put it in the trash. That's the garbage public workers. Train conductors on the sites. Gotta wash when you get dirty. Gotta clean and get a smile happy. Gotta clean when you get dirty. Gotta smile clean when you get happy. Gotta clean when you get dirty. Gotta clean that smile happy. Gotta clean when you get dirty. Gotta clean when you get happy. For the left and for the right. That's the sun and proper sights. In the sky there's satellites. On the lights without the lights. Gotta get it for the left. For the prudence, that's the said. I am voting the king is absent. I am voting king is absent. Let's see. Conservative, I'm a Democratic Republican centrist. My theory is best for the collective, and I gotta check out voting coming soon, but gotta check out soon, whatever the case may be. So anyways, continue those cadence. King is absent, time for the Republican. Next prime minister is still gonna pledge allegiance to the king, so king is absent. It's time to get rid of the, it's time to liberate Canada from the king and stop pledging allegiance to the king and his heirs with some love, some respect. The king is over to the a boot across the Atlantic. The king is over on the other side, a boot over the Atlantic. The king is on the other side, a boot over the Atlantic. Gotta give it for the dough. Gotta give it for the you. Gotta give it for the dues. For the left, nothing to do. Nothing to do but bake some pies. Clean some water with some cleaner. Got a soap and mean machines. Aqueducts up in the butchers. Train conductors that gotta go. On the boots we gotta clean. Got a left and right of sight. Gotta clean. Gotta clean. Gotta put some red and purple. Some green like a turtle. Some green like a turtle. And you know we gotta rock and roll on the road. Plumbers and the plumbers and the welders and the electricians. Firefighters and the welders. Electricians and the plumbers. Gotta get the they hammer. How many hammers and some nails? Gotta say up in the bale. Gotta say up in the bale. For the just and loving free. For the just and loving free. For the just and loving free. Harmony with some steps. Hanging harpoons got a best. Construction workers gotta go. Up on the cranes and the steel toes. Up on the cranes, up in the steel toes. Gotta get it left and right. Gotta get it on the side. Gotta turn ahead when you cross the street. For the prudence, gotta beat. Gotta beat like a rock and roll sing. Cadence, Dragon Army, property of the Dragon Army. Channeled by General Cuckold, greatest cuckold in the universe. Clit, dick, limb, dick, clit. Rainbow Dragon Aspie. Dependent Aspie. Geopolitical, theoretical, analyst, and theorist. Philosopher, artist, mystic, athlete. Hey. Gotta put the steps. Gotta put the bets. I don't bet and I don't gamble. We don't bet and we don't gamble. Push-ups and hugs. Sharing what we got. SSD, that's for the service. SSD, that's for the security. SSD, that's for defense. SSD, that's for loving. SSD, security, service, and defense. Gotta get it so you know. And per the rabble, bury me with Papa Crowley. Turtle me in Hampton, that New Jersey. Turtle me up in the back of the Belvedere, Conjurenac. Montreal, turtle me up in the city of the pyramids in Cairo, near Egypt, near Cairo. 10th of April, Cadence. Dragon Army, pledge your allegiance. We gotta switch a little bit of that French because we're not Belle Provence, you know, so we gotta do that cadence, you know. Freestyling. LOV. Property of the Dragon Army, pledge your allegiance, thou our family, pledge your allegiance, thou our family, pledge your allegiance, thou our family. Rock and roll on the go. Where the eagles, where the hawks, and where the crows are. Where the eagles, where the hawks, and where the crows are. A day, sunrise and sunsets. Sunrise and sunsets. That's another cadence yet. French. Et bienvenue. Je suis en train de chanter un peu votre dragon arc-en-ciel, artiste, athlète, philosophe, qui danse le plus sur la belle province, votre analyste et théoricien géopolitique indépendant. pour les 3G, 4G, 5G, mais le soleil aujourd'hui, 7 degrés. Changement de température un peu. J'étais encore un peu malade, c'était en haut et en bas, comme le marché boursier. Je pense qu'ils sont en train d'avoir un effondrement aujourd'hui, hein, parce que hier, ils ont rebondi un peu avec le changement, qui a dit qu'il y a eu une pause de 90 jours, puis là, il y a beaucoup de confusion, c'est pas clair, mais exactement, c'est ce qui est clair pour moi-même, c'est que j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale dans les cette année, en 2019, en octobre puis en novembre, puis je prends beaucoup de fierté dans mon travail indépendant en géopolitique. J'avais même prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment en 2019. En 2019, j'avais prévu, bien sûr, qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale, puis cette conflagration internationale aura l'espace dans les 7 prochaines années, puis bien sûr, dans ma prédiction, bien sûr, c'est envisager un conflit d'intégration, bien sûr, qu'il y aura un conflit qui va reprendre dans les 7 prochaines années. Fait que c'est ça qui s'est passé depuis 2019. Depuis après la COVID, et moi-même j'ai survécu la COVID. Fait que d'une manière que moi-même je suis pas seulement un artiste, un athlète, mais un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Encore une fois, qui a prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment. Fait qu'ayant prévu cette situation de conflagration internationale qui vient sur l'horizon, c'est ça, j'avais prévu ça. J'avais prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe en 2019. En octobre puis en novembre, j'avais prévu en 2019 qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale, vu que des conflits qui n'ont pas été capables d'avoir de résolution du 20e siècle, ils vont reprendre. Fait que ces conflits-là, c'est ça qui s'est passé, tu sais. Ils ont repris en Europe, l'Ukraine puis la Russie, c'est des conflits qui n'ont pas été capables d'avoir de résolution finale dans le 20e siècle. En Israël, Palestine, Hamas, le monde arabe puis Israël, puis potentiellement, c'est l'horizon, le conflit entre la Chine puis le Taïwan. Fait que c'est ça que j'avais prévu, c'est ça que je fais au quotidien. J'ai l'Asperger, fait que j'ai les intérêts spéciaux, aussi connus comme intérêts obsessifs. Fait qu'avec intensité, concentration, et je suis super dedans. Quand je fais des analyses en géopolitique, je suis moi-même un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique indépendant, mais à cause de l'Asperger's, c'est mon intérêt spécial. Fait que c'est ça qui se passe des heures par jour au quotidien, puis depuis bien des années. Puis je prends beaucoup de fierté dans mon travail en géopolitique quotidien. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. En 2019, c'est pas comme un prophète qui a des visions, là, c'est juste basé sur des analyses. Puis j'avais vu que on se dirige encore à l'international, là, au monde global, pas nous autres les Québécois, là, les Canadiens québécois, mais quand on fait partie du monde, puis du point de vue universel, quand je dis on, mais c'est pas le collectif nord-américain, parce que nous, on constitue un collectif. Les Québécois et les Québécoises, les Canadiens ont constitué un collectif de civilisation qui est émergent, qui n'est pas tout à fait divorcé de l'Occident, mais on a des distinctions avec l'Occident parce qu'on est un collectif de civilisation émergent et nouveau qui a des distinctions, hein, et on n'est pas divorcé de l'Occident, de la civilisation occidentale qu'on appelle la grande civilisation occidentale, mais on a des distinctions. J'avais prévu à l'international ou dans le monde qu'il y aura cette conflagration internationale. Il y aura une 3e guerre mondiale, comme parallèlement en octobre 2019, dans les 7 prochaines années. Fait que de 2019, j'ai dit, jusqu'à 2026. Fait que c'est ça qui arrive en ce moment. C'est sûr que pas à chaque détail, mais en général, j'avais prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. Fait que j'ai la théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui encore une fois, c'est la seule et unique solution. Aujourd'hui, vu qu'on paye tellement d'intérêt sur la dette publique qu'on a payé l'année passée 46,5 milliards. Ça a sauté, c'est plus que double en 3 ans. C'est sûr qu'à cause de la COVID, bien encore une fois, mais j'ai survécu la COVID, il y a 5 ans. J'ai survécu la COVID, il y a 5 ans. J'ai survécu la COVID, bien sûr, il y a 5 ans. Fait que, ayant survécu la COVID, c'est quelque chose qui m'intéresse, tu sais. L'origine de la COVID, je la sais pas. Hey, regardez comment c'est bleu. Bleu comme le ciel des fleurs du printemps, que je vous chante l'amour le ciel. Le bleu, le bordel, fais-moi pas le bordel du nettoyage de la belle province. Regarde des fleurs qui sont belles. Ah ouais, à la danse. J'adore ça, les fleurs. Surtout les fleurs jaunes. J'aime bon, en tout cas. Fait que pour dire que cette situation que j'ai prévue en 2019 se passe comme je l'ai prévu d'un point, généralement parlant, tu sais, c'est sûr que pas à chaque détail, mais généralement parlant, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019, en octobre, novembre. Puis j'ai un couple de solutions, mes initiatives, protocoles, quand je dis soutenez puis prêtez allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. c'est sûr, je vous considère comme ma famille, mais dans le grand collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, les Québécois et Québécoises, et bien sûr avec nos frères et sœurs des États-Unis, parce qu'en géopolitique, il faut être réaliste aussi. La géopolitique, c'est qu'on a un destin commun, une civilisation émergente, puis il faut qu'on fasse le plus possible pour avoir les meilleures relations possibles avec les États-Unis. Avec les États-Unis, il faut qu'on ait les meilleures relations possibles. Puis that's it, that's all rock-and-roll. Il n'y a pas de oui et non dans ce sens. C'est notre réalité en géopolitique de côte à côte, d'océan à océan. Puis même maintenant avec Trump, c'est sûr que c'est pas une manière de nous inviter avec des tarifs. Hein. Avec des tarifs, c'est pas la manière de nous inviter avec les tarifs. Tu sais. C'est sûr que j'aime pas trop ça, la manière qu'il nous invite à rejoindre. Mais je pense que mon partenariat public-privé, quand je dis le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, c'est mieux pour nous inviter. Puis par ces protocoles de partenariat public-privé, puis des initiatives, telle mon initiative pour l'armée du dragon, l'armée de la sécurité, le service pour la défense seulement, la Légion de l'Amérique du Nord, Integree, Citoyen, que ce soit une nouvelle institution intégrée avec toutes les institutions de sécurité qui existent pour le SSD, le principe qui va fonctionner par le principe de la SSD, Service, Sécurité et Défense, qui fonctionnera par le principe de la Sécurité, Service et Défense, qui fonctionnera par le principe de la sécurité, service et défense, qui fonctionnera par le principe de la SSD, sécurité, service et défense. La Légion du collectif nord-américain, une nouvelle institution de sécurité, service et défense intégrée avec toutes les institutions qui existent, aussi connue comme l'armée du dragon, que je fais appel à tous et toutes de soutenir. Parallèlement avec l'armée de la déesse qui danse sur la Ligue de danse de l'Amérique du Nord pour l'environnement, pour faire la plantation comme on vient de passer dans la vidéo. Tantôt, on a vu que tellement de déchets dans la falaise, là-bas, la falaise. Puis j'ai fait bien du bénévolat dans le passé. Je vais continuer aujourd'hui puis demain. Puis surtout quand je viens à ma deuxième maison, la montagne, je le fais. Ça prend l'individu, hein? Ça prend l'individu, puis ça prend le collectif. Ça prend l'individu pour le faire, puis ça prend le collectif. L'action individuelle avec le collectif, c'est toujours un partenariat public-privé. Un PPP, mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé. Quand je dis prêter allégeance, Légion, vous êtes famille, bien, c'est sûr. Comme je vous défendrai vous-même, les Québécois, Canadiens, mais je dis souvent, mais tu sais, le roi est absent, j'ai pas aimé ça, mais le premier ministre Carney, quand il a pris le pouvoir, il y a une couple de semaines, il a prêté allégeance au roi Charles et ses héritiers, tu sais, au roi Charles et ses héritiers, tu sais, au roi Charles et ses héritiers, tu sais, au roi Charles et ses héritiers, prêter allégeance aux Québécois, Canadiens, dans le collectif nord-américain, mais pas au roi Charles. Tu sais, c'est le temps qu'on se débarrasse, qu'on se libère de ces choses de roi Charles, tu sais. En tout cas, je ne veux pas en parler trop de cette philosophie que j'ai moi-même, mais juste pour vous dire, tu sais, dans ce contexte où qu'on vit actuellement, c'est pour dire faut que, tu sais, c'est des choses qu'il faut qu'on y pense dans le contexte du 21e siècle quand même, tu sais, parce qu'on est rendu au 21e siècle, là. Tu sais, notre premier ministre, il a prêté allégeance au roi Charles, là. Tu sais, c'est quelque chose que moi, ça m'a fait gricher les dents quand même. J'ai pas aimé ça, honnêtement. J'ai dit, ben alors, c'est le temps de finir avec ça, là. Voyons, c'est les Québécois, Canadiens, les fermiers, les plombiers, les bouchers, ceux qui travaillent dans les infirmières, tu sais, qui sont en train de faire du ménage, les infirmières, le travail d'Hydro-Québec, tous ceux, bien sûr, qui font du compostage, dans ce travail de la plomberie, dans le soudage, tu sais, toutes ces choses-là, mais c'est pas le roi Charles là, qui va venir nous défendre dans un cas de guerre, puis c'est un paradoxe que je vous dis, mais c'est la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui peut nous sortir de qu'on est rendu maintenant à avoir payé 46,5 milliards d'intérêts sur la dette publique l'année passée. Ça a sauté durant la COVID, ça a plus que doublé de 20,3 milliards à 46,3 milliards. Fait quand même avoir souffert de l'Asperger, cette condition de neurodivergence qui n'est pas une maladie mentale. Je peux vous dire que j'étais bien maudit, j'ai perdu bien de l'emploi, de la malcompréhension. C'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est juste que notre cerveau il est différent. Les autistes, hautement fonctionnels, les Aspergers, notre cerveau il est fait différemment. Fait que nous, on fait partie d'une minorité, moins d'1%, hein? Moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage, 0,5, 0,44, c'est une petite fraction, minuscule minorité de gens qui l'ont, comme moi-même. C'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est juste que notre cerveau il est fait différemment. Fait que nous, les Aspergers, on a de la misère dans certains contextes de la société, mais on peut être fort dans d'autres choses. Dans d'autres choses, on peut être très fort, par exemple. Mais quand ça vient à d'autres choses comme la connaissance de certains protocoles, la société, qu'en parler, ou la manière, on peut être étrange, la manière qu'on communique, là, la communication, là, ces choses-là, on peut s'approcher trop proche de la personne et déjà des citoyens, tu sais, c'est sûr qu'on peut avoir ces difficultés, hein, tu sais. Fait que ça peut être difficile, mais c'est sûr que à cause de l'Asperger's, je peux vous dire que je présente sur la table la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Puis je peux vous dire que c'est la seule et unique théorie qui peut nous sauver d'où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui à payer 46, l'année passée, 46,5 milliards d'intérêts. Fait que je vous l'explique maintenant quand je suis dessus parce que ça presse. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va apprendre ensemble. Encore une fois, on ne peut pas soutenir ça, hein, parce qu'en fait, le principe mathématique qui s'applique d'un individu au collectif, du public au privé, c'est que si l'intérêt double en seulement 3 ans, puis oui, l'intérêt a plus que doublé en seulement 3 ans, en 2020-2021, c'était 20,3 milliards. 20,3 milliards double, c'est 40,6. C'était rendu à 46,5 milliards. 1 milliard, 109 zéros. C'est 46 000 millions, ça. C'est 46 000 millions. Pensez-y à ça. Ça, c'est un chiffre énorme. Fait que c'est sûr que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé. Puis comme qu'un individu citoyen, si ça y arrive, le même scénario là, financier, que mettons, ça saute de 156, parce que 156 double, c'est 312. Fait que si ça saute de 156 à 333, ce qui est le chiffre qui est plus que double de 156, ça veut dire que là, la citoyenne en question, il faut qu'il coupe. Faut que ça coupe dans le budget. Faut que ça réduise les dépenses. Faut arrêter de fumer, faut arrêter de fumer, faut arrêter de boire, faut arrêter de sortir, peut-être couper le Netflix, réduire de l'Internet, réduire bien sûr la consommation généralement, là, des biens ou de la consommation des choses, peut-être avoir un téléphone qui coûte moins cher, tu sais, une promotion, un plan de cellulaire, de téléphonique moins cher. Il va falloir que vous coupez, que vous réduisez si ça arrive. Il n'y a pas bien des salaires qui ont doublé, là. Pas bien si l'intérêt double que vous payez sur les cartes de crédit. Moi-même, j'ai pas de carte de crédit, j'ai une ligne de crédit de 10 000 $. Je paye 10,44 d'intérêt. Fait que c'est ça que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé, bien sûr. Fait que c'est sûr que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé, you know? Fait que c'est sûr que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé, tu sais. C'est sûr que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé, tu sais. C'est sûr que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé. Fait que dans ce point de vue, il faut faire la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Parce que on n'a pas le choix et on va voir, parce que le même principe s'applique dans le public. Il va falloir qu'on coupe dans le budget. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? Les services de santé, les services de sanitation, les prisons, la police, les services de sécurité, la police, les prisons. Il va falloir qu'on coupe dans le budget à quelque part. C'est juste le même principe, ça s'applique d'une manière de mathématique. Là. Il n'y a pas de sortie de ça, on ne peut pas s'en sortir de ça. C'est ça qu'on est rendu en avril 2025. C'est urgent, c'est possible qu'il y ait un effondrement total des finances publiques dès aujourd'hui, dès demain, dès lundi. Là. C'est tellement grave, c'est tellement une situation que c'est sûr que c'est à cause de la COVID, à cause des programmes qui ont été implémentés, c'est sûr. Ça a doublé à cause de ça. Mais c'est sûr qu'il faut faire de l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ou quelque chose de similaire. Quelque chose qui ressemble à ma TRD, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, ou quelque chose qui ressemble en principe. Il n'y a pas de sortie de ça. On est en train d'avoir un effondrement. Il va falloir qu'on coupe dans le budget, sévèrement dans le budget public. les travailleurs publics, le compostage, le recyclage, les prisons, la sécurité nationale, l'armée. Là. Fait que la TRD, je vous l'explique. La TRD, ça contient en dedans d'elle la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, la théorie d'intégration monétaire, c'est la théorie que les Européens ont faite par la création de la Banque centrale européenne, puis la mise en circulation de la monnaie connue comme l'euro des années 90. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, j'ai 10 000 à la Banque Royale, toute la dette publique-privée de côte à côte, d'océan à océan, cette dette-là, on va convertir dans la devise des États-Unis, dans la devise des États-Unis, dans la devise des États-Unis. On va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Fait que c'est 10 000, mon 10 000, ton 10 000 de côte à côte, on va faire bien sûr cette conversion. On va rajouter ensemble avec la dette des États-Unis. Cet argent-là, ça a été de la fondation d'une nouvelle banque, l'argent initial pour une nouvelle banque. On va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. 10%. Après ça, on va faire la création de l'unité d'échange universelle. U point unité, E point échange ou point universel. U point unité, E point échange ou point universel. Le UI. U point unité, E point échange ou point universel. Le UI. U point unité, E point échange ou point universel. U point unité, E point échange ou point universel. L'unité d'échange universelle. L'unité d'échange universelle, ça va avoir l'air, bien sûr, de cette nouvelle monnaie, bien sûr. Fait que l'unité d'échange universelle, UI, ça va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Avec cet argent-là, on va pouvoir rebâtir l'infrastructure, rebâtir des centrales d'Hydro-Québec, bâtir les ponts, financement des constructions des 44 tunnels. Après 43, le chiffre avant 45, c'est 44. C'est 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une bombe thermonucléaire. Fait que dans le cas d'une bombe thermonucléaire, ces choses-là vont être implémentées. Fait qu'on va faire, dans le cas d'une bombe nucléaire, on va devoir bâtir ces 44 tunnels, on va bâtir d'autres centrales d'Hydro-Québec, on va faire le financement des 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit la Légion de l'Amérique du Nord pour la sécurité, service et défense, l'armée du Dragon pour le côte à côte. On va faire bien sûr l'implémentation de cette théorie de la refusion de la dette. Il faut le faire. On est à veille d'avoir un effondrement des finances publiques. C'est tellement rendu grave qu'il y a un effondrement des finances publiques sur l'horizon. Là. C'est juste le principe financièrement, mathématiquement, on est rendu. C'est sûr qu'à cause de la COVID, les programmes qui ont été implémentés durant les 4-5 ans là, de la COVID, là, c'est sûr pendant 3 ans et demi, c'était plus intense. Après ça, c'était les 2 côtés, mais on n'a pas le choix. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ou quelque chose de très similaire qui ressemble à ma théorie, il faut que ça soit implémenté. On va créer l'unité d'échange universelle. Avec ça, on va bâtir d'autres centrales d'Hydro-Québec, financer les gens au tourisme, parce que ça fait du bien pour la santé mentale et le moral, financer l'entraînement physique. On va pouvoir faire ces choses-là. Avec la théorie de la refusion de la dette. C'est sûr, il n'y en a pas le choix. Puis l'année passée, ça a plus que doublé l'intérêt qu'on paye sur la dette là. Publique. Vous imaginez-vous qu'on est à veille d'avoir un effondrement des finances publiques? Il n'y a pas de solution. There's no solution. Pas de solution. Rock&Roll, là, que je vous encourage les pompiers, les boulangers, les infirmières, le travailleur de Québec, que je vous chante, faites les pompes, changement des aqueducs, le rock'n'roll de votre aspect artiste, théorie de la refusion de la dette, la création de l'unité d'échange universelle, prendre toute la dette publique-privée. Canada, États-Unis, on va faire un recensement, un passeport commun, puis on va se diriger la sécurité de le service de côte à côte. Il faut qu'on s'unisse, fusionne le Nord et le Sud avec les États-Unis, puis on fasse un recensement, puis on fasse la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. On n'a pas le choix, ça presse. Super important qu'on le fasse aussitôt possible. That's it, that's all, rock and roll. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution, mes chers.